Today's topic is grant writing, specifically SBIR and STTR. And Katie's going to get into that. And so I'm going to let her do that. But what you need to know about Katie is that she's our expert and she is extremely skilled in this area and many areas. She's the director of the Science Venture Studio, which is through Startup Junkie, and the founder of Rooted Startups. She has over a decade of experience working with technology startups in Northwest Arkansas. And many of those have received federal funding as their first form of capital to develop their technology. As the director of the Science Venture Studio, she and her team help early stage science and technology companies prepare and submit small business innovation research, SBIR, and small business technology transfer, STTR proposals. So she is the perfect person to speak to us today. As a little bit of other background that you might want to know, kind of interesting fact is that Katie was also a public school teacher for fifth grade math and science for 6 years. And so she's definitely been in our community and served every aspect of education. So thanks, Katie. Thank you for being here. I'm going to pass it off to you.
Well, thank you, Stacey. And thank you everyone for attending this afternoon. And if you're eating lunch, I hope you are enjoying lunch. Kind of envious because I have not eaten lunch yet, and I wanted to spare you guys all of the food jargon. So thought I'll just push back lunch. And Stacey, I was so worried when you said just a little fun fact about me. I thought, Stacey, what are you going to say?
It's always a little sketchy, right?
It's always like, oh, what are you going to say? But yes, I was a school teacher for 6 years in math and science, taught fifth grade math and science before I got into the startup ecosystem, and I have loved it ever since. But yeah, like I said, so glad that you guys are here. And I am going to share my screen. And what I wanted to tell you guys, it's going to be like presentation. I mean, I'm going to present to you guys just some kind of like a 50,000 foot view of like, what are some good tactics of writing SBIR or STTR. But I want this to be very interactive. And if you have a question, just like while I'm presenting, you can unmute yourself and just say, hey, I've got a question, or what do you mean by this? Or you can put it in the chat, and Stacey's going to be monitoring the chat. And we can just stop and talk about that question. And like I said, I really want this to just be an hour where we are learning together, and an hour that I can answer as many questions. And after this, I love to connect with all of you. You are more than welcome to connect with me too. And then we can just set up a time just to talk individually about what would be the best way for you to pursue an opportunity like this. And I just like to get to know you, get to know what your goals are, and see how we can help you. So I want to make sure, am I presenting? Yes, I am. So I'm going to give you a 50,000 foot view of what an SBIR, STTR is, because I'm not sure, what level of comfort that you are with SBIRs and STTRs. But in a nutshell, I mean, SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation Research, and STTR stands for Small Technology Transfer Research. And both of these opportunities, they are powered by the SBA. And the beautiful thing about this type of funding is the reason why a lot of startup companies look at this type of funding is that it is non-dilutive, which means that you don't have to give up any equity in your company. And those of you who are thinking about starting a company or have a startup, that's very, very inviting for you to, get funding without, giving up any equity into your company. Why is it not? There we go. So like I said, it's powered by the SBA. So it is, it's it's a federal funding. And all of these agencies that I have listed here offer this type of an SBIR or STTR. A lot of you, or some of you may be familiar with, the National Science Foundation, the National Institute of Health, Department of Energy, USDA, NASA. But there's also other agencies that offer this type of funding. Yeah, and with each agency, the their phase, and all of them are like in phases. So that means you have like a phase 1 to do some R&D, phase 2, and then phase 3, which phase 3 is meant for really commercializing commercializing your technology. But phase 1, again, like I said, it depends on which agency. Phase 1 funding could be from 100,000 all the way to 256,000. And then phase 2 would be, depending on an agency, between 750,000 all the way up to 1.3 million. So it's really good funding, to get, do some really intense research and development on your technology. Really good funding to work with different partners. I mean, it's really good. But it depends, whatever agency. So I like to think, so that's just a 50,000 foot view of SBIR and STTR funding. And like I said, it depends on, and what I like to do is talk to the company, talk to you about your technology, or talk to you about your research. And then we can look to see, what agency would be a good fit for you. And each agency, they solicited, or they offer funding opportunities. So they solicit opportunities where the agency itself has identified some key areas where they want companies to try to tackle with their, to develop with their research or with their technology. And so each of these agencies, like I said, offers this type of, or solicitates an opportunity, and the companies, it's your job to go and look at these solicitations and just see, can your technology or can your research, can it fit with that solicitation? So like I said, I like to connect with you, like to understand your technology a little bit more. And then we can look at each of these agencies and look at the solicitations, and we can go, okay, this technology could be a really good fit for this solicitation. And I think that we can do it. But so I'm not going to go into each agency because, like I said, I want to connect with you, understand your technology, and then we can look to see which one is good for you. But what I like to really think about is that it really starts with trust. And what I encourage companies to do all the time is, before you start writing your proposal, or before you start writing your proposal, is connecting with that program director. And a lot of companies, they don't think about this aspect of, having a conversation with the program director. Like, is that okay? Can I do that? I know they're really, and the questions kind of probably start swirling, like, is that program director, would they be available if I talk to them? And what you need to know is, with these program directors, it is their job to talk to you and to tell you about the agency, but also talk to you about your technology to see if it is a good fit. It's their job to identify the companies, or to identify the technology across the nation that would propel with this type of funding. So I tell companies all the time, reach out before we submit a proposal. Reach out to that program director, send them an email. And a lot of the agencies, the program director's contact information is on their website. So you can send them an email or even just call them and, introduce yourself because, the big picture is, I mean, you're dealing with a person and you want to, develop, like I said, develop that trust with the program director. And it's kind of twofold because, if you develop that trusting relationship with the program director, when you submit the proposal, because, since it is a very nice opportunity for technology development, that means a lot of, it is very competitive. So if you have this relationship with the program director before you submit your proposal, then that program director, with their, who knows how many stacks of proposals that they get, let's just say 250, and that's probably a low number. They will recognize, they will go, oh, I have been talking with Madison, or I've been talking with Josh. I know who they are as a person, and I know their technology, and I'm going to be their advocate. So that's one reason to communicate with the program director. The other benefit is that program director is going to kind of help you with not say exactly what you need to put in the proposal, but they're going to say, what is the agency looking for? What level of the technology development are they really looking for, to fund? So I really think, and that's where that whole trust part, it's just huge. And I feel like a lot of companies, you're really just thinking, I just need the money, and I'm going to just send this in, and it's totally, I totally get it. But I really think before you dive into writing your proposal and doing the hard work, really connect with that program director and start building that trust. Another thing that I like to think about, and Stacey, do we have any questions or anything yet?
Not yet.
Are we still good? Okay. So, like I said, I think beginning with trust with the program director is key. But then I like to think, because, and I don't know if, well, within that solicitation, and, some of you may have already, you know what a solicitation looks like. But within the solicitation, it gives you step-by-step of things that you need to put in your proposal. And you can almost kind of get buried into it as far as like, well, I've got to make sure and do this and this and this and this and this, so that it is a good proposal. But what I like to do too is really think about the reviewer. So when you submit your proposal, after you submit it, it will go to a panel, and the panel will be, be a 4 to 5 person panel. And the panel, it's going to, the panel members are going to be a mixture of technical expertise as well as industry expertise, as well as like a commercial expertise. So there's a mixture of these reviewers, and they're all going, they're going to be reading your proposal. And so you really need to start thinking about, that is your audience. And really, what do you need to tell in your story? And what is the reviewer thinking about while they are reading your proposal? And so I wanted to, before saying, well, this is what needs to be in the proposal, I want you to really think about, or start thinking about, what is the reviewer while they are reading your proposal? What are some questions that they are asking while they're reading your proposal? So one of the main questions, or one question that they start with is, what is the potential? Meaning, what is the potential, from a broader impact? So with your technology, what is the broader impact as far as even societal impact? Like, how is your technology going to impact the society as a whole, whether that be technological advancement or a commercial opportunity. So, they like to think, what is that potential? And then also, what is the potential for it to advance, not only advance the understanding within your field, but advance across different fields. So like say, for example, you're a biomedical company and you have this device and you're wanting to, you're writing proposal, they're looking, okay, your technology is going to advance this part, say, with breast cancer. But during that technological advancement, what is the potential to advance beyond, identifying, breast cancer? What other implications could it have? And so that's from a technological standpoint, but then from like a societal point, it's like, well, it can impact this market, but could it impact this one? So they're looking at what is the potential? And then as far as how innovative the project is. So they want to look at to see, how creative is this, is your technology? How original is your technology compared to what is currently in the market? How can you advance it? How can your technology advance, kind of going back to the potential. The third thing that they think about, is it well reasoned? So within your proposal, and we'll get to like the different different parts of a proposal, but within your proposal, there is a part of it that you will be talking about your plan, your research and development plan. And so they're looking to see, does it make sense? Does your plan follow a succinct set of tasks? And does it, do your objectives, do they answer do they mitigate the risk? Do they answer the questions, answer some big questions? And, does it follow as just a succinct set of tasks? And then they also they look at your team. And I like to really point this out. They want to see the qualifications of the PI. However, they really want to see the overall team that, who is going to be behind this project. And they really want to see, the qualifications, but also, do you have the support around you to really to do the project, but not only to do the project, but to commercialize this technology. And then of course, the resources, and the resources would be, is from a, do you have lab space? Do you have, do you have the actual things that you need in order to do the research and development? Do you have the right partnerships? Do you have, just like kind of going back to the qualifications, but do you have the support around you as the PI to really develop your technology? I thought I saw. I see we have a few. Do we have questions?
I was just writing some summary points to what you're saying. Okay. So
cool.
If anyone does though, feel free, drop them in.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I really like to think about what the reviewers are going to be or what are they looking for while they are reading your proposal, because what happens in those review processes, they read the reviewers read maybe 10 proposals, and then they talk about, and they answer those, while they're reading, they answer those questions, and they're really looking at the intellectual merit of your technology as well as the broader impacts. And so, but these reviewers, they'll read your proposal, and then they get into a panel, and they talk about it, and they really, I mean, I've been in some where, I mean, it's a battle. And it really, because, you know, you can only choose one or two that can move on. And it really is, it's, you know, they talk about, really dissect the proposals and, you know, talk with each other about, well, did they address this? Did they do this? And going back to building trust with your program director, what I've seen is that, you know, if there's like, within the review process, if your proposal, or if your proposal is, you know, split where, you know, a few reviewers, say 2 reviewers are for it, they want it to move on, 2 reviewers don't, you know, that program director, if they have a relationship with you, at that point, they will be your advocate. And so it's like, and because I've seen this countless of times where, you know, the program director will go, you know what, I've had some really good conversations with this team, and this is what they put in the proposal, but this is actually, like, I know their technology a little bit more. So again, that's where developing a trust with your program director, it really is very beneficial, beneficial to you. So all of that to say, you know, now I'm going to just kind of give you an overview of what is in a typical proposal. And those of you who have done an SBIR or an STTR, I like to use the word traumatic, because I think that really does capture how hard and how time consuming writing a proposal is. And I mean, it is, and I know I've talked to a lot of companies where, you know, I ask them, have you done an SBIR? You know, when they're looking for different capital, and they say, well, have you done an SBIR? And, you know, some of the companies will go, oh, yes, I've done an SBIR. But, and it's hard. It's very difficult. But, and all that to say, you know, it's not one of those where you can pull off over the weekend. I've seen people try to do that. And I just advise, if you can, to refrain from that for your sanity, but also for, you know, how effective your proposal is. But in a typical proposal, you have these 3 things. And, you know, again, depending on which agency, each agency, you know, the things that have to be included in your proposal is different. And that's just something that we would work together on, and just looking to make sure within that solicitation that you are meeting all the requirements that the agency is needing for your proposal. But typically, between all the agencies, this is what is in your proposal. So the first one, you know, is the project summary. And this is where you are addressing the intellectual merit and the broader impacts. And the intellectual merit basically just is, you know, what is its potential? And then the broader impacts, that's more on, you know, from a technological advancement standpoint, as well as the commercial opportunity. So you're addressing, you know, your commercial opportunity, as well as your, you know, like the broader societal impacts. And then you have your project description. And this is where you get into the meaty part of your technology, and your plan that you have for this proposal. You start with your commercial opportunity, and this is where you have to, as the PI, you have to go and look at the market, you know, or, you know, identify the correct market or a good enough market for your technology. And you have to go and look to see, you know, how big is that market currently? And then what are the impacts that your technology can have within that market? And, you also have to talk about, your customers, like who could your customers be, as well as your competitors. And yeah, and then you have to talk about, if you were to sell your product eventually, how much is it going to cost? And you have to compare that to what is actually that is currently on the market. Also have to, discuss, how are you going to fund yourself? And, it's really good to have the SBIR funding, but what are some other types of funding that you're thinking about that that you're going to need in order to get to the commercializing your technology? Yeah, and then we move on. So after you address that, then you move on to the innovation. And this is where you are discussing, how original your technology is. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's, how original your technology is. And then those questions that you are going to ask. No, I'm kind of getting like my mind is kind of, because now I'm like, no, and that's a technical discussion. So, yeah. Okay, I'm going to go on to the company and team. So with your company and team, you need to discuss, or your, company and team. So you need to discuss, what is your company? Discuss, if you've had funding in the past, what is that funding that you have? And also you need to discuss who is on your team, and really pull out from the team, what are they good at? And then how are they, because of their expertise, how are they going to contribute to the project? And then this is where we get into the technical discussion and R&D plan. And this is where I was kind of getting confused with my words and getting tangled up in my thoughts, because within your technical discussion, you need to talk about the plan, but also you have to address, what are those big questions that you are going to answer during your technical discussion that's going to help you propel your technology further. And then within your technical discussion, you also have to talk about, how are you going to mitigate those risks, or what are those risks that you are kind of, you kind of have that idea that there might be some risk involved when you develop like within that objective, but then how are you going to mitigate that risk? So the reviewer, if you do that, the reviewer is going to go, okay, they're already thinking through some possible risk, and they already have a plan of if that happens, or if this happens, then they already have a plan in place. So that means, that just lets the reviewer know that you're being proactive, and you're really thinking very thoroughly on how you're going to develop your technology. And then of course, that R&D plan too. So, you have to put in, I encourage companies all the time to put in a timeline of, what task are you going to do, the objectives that you are going to do, objectives that you are going to do to propel your technology further. And then you also have a budget. So after all of that, the project summary, the project description, all of that is very a narrative form. And then you have the budget, and then letters to support. And this is where, I think we can get tied up, depending on which agency, each agency has a different set of requirements for the letters of support. And I feel like, and just because from experience, I've worked with companies, like this was years ago, where, an agency, say NSF is, there's 3 letters of support that you can put in. And, we would just, find not whoever, I mean, they, legit letters of support, but looking back on it, it's like, but were those letters of support just because we had to put them in there? Or did that relationship really improve? Like, did it really impact your development of your technology, but also your company? And this is where I really think, and again, this is like building the support system around you, building this network, with these letters of support, don't just, I know it's very easy, like I said, to just say, well, they need 3, we're going to put in 3. But really think about what support do you need from a technology standpoint, but also from the company standpoint, for the growth of the company. What kind of support do you need to get you where you want to be? And so I encourage companies all the time to think about, with that letters to support, if there's 3 that are required, you would like to have one that's somebody that is an expertise in the technology itself, is, an engineer of some sort that can really say, this technology, what this company is trying to do, the technology is sound. And it also, this is a technology that is needed. So that's a really good letter of support. And then also another one would be, a potential customer. And just somebody that says, what, yes, this is needed. That this is a problem. And if this company can do what it says it's going to do, then I could consider being there for, being a customer. And then the third one would be a possible investor. And this is where, this would be a person that would say, what, if this company, I'm so excited about their technology. I'm so excited about this company itself. And, then if they do what they say they're going to do, then I could consider investing in their company. And so this is one of those, it's kind of a twofold thing, to where, from a reviewer standpoint, if they see the letters of support and they see that you have those 3 different types of people, then they are seeing that you're thinking beyond your research. They're thinking that, you're already thinking about your customer. You're already thinking about, you're going to need more funding after an SBIR. Because, 1.5 million is great for your R&D, but really, I think, you're going to have more money, and you're going to have to get an investor involved at some point. So, the reviewers are thinking, well, they're already thinking beyond the SBIR. And they're thinking, how are they going to make their company sustainable with that, but when they see that you have a letter from an investor. So it is good for the reviewer to see that you have that support system. But as for you as a company, going ahead and developing those relationships, developing a relationship with a possible customer, developing a relationship with an investor, possible investor, it's never too soon to just have a conversation with them. I think it's so important to have that relationship in place for you as a company. That way you have the support. You have somebody that is interested in you. Like with an investor, you want to get them excited. You want to get them, really interested in, maybe you won't need that investment round until 5 years down the road. But they're excited, and you can update them and, really get them plugged in early on. And same thing with that potential customer. And then with the technical expertise, like, of course, to me, that's, getting somebody to validate your technology. I mean, that's just a great relationship, because you could even go back to that person if you have a good relationship and just talk to them. So that letters of support, I think it is so important to have. I've been on review panels too, that, the proposal is okay. And if they have the letters of support, then, the reviewers will go, well, they've got great support. So it just gives you a better opportunity. But then I've seen where the proposal is like, it's okay, and they don't have letters of support, and those reviewers will go, well, they didn't have letters of support. They don't have a great support system. They don't have partners in place. And so I really think those relationships, the reviewers will see that you've got great support. And like I said, it's kind of twofold, because those relationships will build your company so that you can be sustainable over time. So big picture, and I wanted to just kind of wrap this up, because the big picture is, you see these SBIR opportunities and you want to go, okay, 256,000, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan. And you kind of get, I know from me and from experience, you kind of just get buried in that idea. But I think it's so important for us to look at the big picture, look at the relationships that you need, look at the support system that you need to really develop your technology and grow your company. And really think beyond the scope. I mean, one, it's so important. Yes, think about your project plan, but what are you wanting? What do you need to develop your technology? What kind of support do you need? What resources do you need? And think about that bigger picture. Where do you want to go, and what do you need? And then, like Stacey said, so I have a great team around me. I am the director of the Science Venture Studio. And I'm so thankful for my team that I have. And like I said too before, at the very beginning, if you want to reach out and we can talk about this more in depth and really apply it to your technology or apply it to your research, or if you're really starting your research and you're like, this could be something that I'm interested in, we can really talk about, what are some things that you need to do. But I have a stellar team. I might be a little biased. I think it is the best team across the nation. I think we've just got great community, and we are kick-ass. But so myself, I have a grant specialist. Her name is Sydney Gray. We have also an advisor. Some of you guys may know him. His name is Doug Hutchins. And then we also have commercialization fellows. So those fellows we get from the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. And what these fellows do is they really target that commercial opportunities section. So they research your market, they research your competitors, they research, the size of the market, and all of those different things, so that you as a researcher can really focus on that R&D plan, which is so important. And then we also have technology mentors that we can put you with. So these mentors, they are people that have been successful with an SBIR or an STTR, and they can help you with all the nuts and bolts within your proposal. And the Science Venture Studio, we are supported by some great organizations within Arkansas. So Innovate Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas Council, and the U of A. And then we are also fully funded by the Walton Family Foundation, which is beautiful, because what that means is all the services that we provide for you as a company is completely free for you. And so yeah, I'm so thankful for them. But like I said, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to get to know you very personally, but then, also hear your goals, hear your research, and answers any questions that you would like, but I'm going to stop right there, and we've got, yeah, perfect. My goal was to end at 12:45, and it is 12:43. But I really wanted to end early, so that we can take this time. If you have any questions, we can answer. You can get yourself off of mute, and love to answer any questions that you may have.
We did have Angie asked if you could share this presentation, I believe, for future reference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. And what I'll do, because in that presentation, I have some notes, and I'll make sure that those notes are in that presentation, because it kind of details those bullet points. So,
great. Angie
yeah.
said thank you. Any other questions for Katie while she's here?
And Stacy, did you put my email?
I did. I've dropped it
Okay.
a couple times, and I'll drop it once more here at the end. I also did just put a link to our survey. We'd love your feedback. I'll say that one more time. Katie's email is right there. It's the last thing that's in the chat. So if you want to connect with her, you can use that. Katie, I'm going to just say thank you really quick for being here. We appreciate your time, your expertise, and your willingness to walk through this.
Yep. And feel free, and thank you, Stacey, for inviting me, but really feel free to send me an email, and we can connect just individually, and we can talk through your research and see if there's any SBIR or STTR. And one thing that I like to do too, yes, this was SBIR, STTR, but within those agencies, what I have found is there's so many other opportunities, federal funding opportunities. So it might not be an SBIR or an STTR, but it's still funding. And so, for me, funding is funding. I mean, it's still non-dilutive since it is federal funding. But there's so many other opportunities too. And the Science Venture Studio can help with that as well. But that's one of those, you wouldn't know, like and again, I'm all into the relationships with that program director, but that program director, where I've seen this with a few companies, they'll reach out to the program director, and that program director will say, we've got SBIR, which is a good fit, but we also have this other funding that you could apply to. And it's something too that we didn't know that was out there, but it was because that company took the effort to reach out to the program director, that program director pointed them into another direction, which was really, really cool. So all that to say, there's other funding. I mean, it's still the research and development plan and all of that. But anyway, but love to connect with each and every one of you if you would like. And yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out.
Katie, one more time, thank you for your time. You're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat. So